Are full frame cameras better than APS-C cameras? Well, yes, they're better in low light, they have shallower depth of field, but do you really need a full frame lens or do you just want one? There's a huge difference between the two, and in this video I'm actually going to give a few reasons why I think APS-C cameras could actually be better for you and some of the advantages APS-C actually has over full frame cameras. So the first reason why I think an APS-C camera or a Super 35 cinema camera is great to have, and that is because of the creative lens choices. Let's just say you decide to get an APS-C or a Super 35 camera to pair up with a full frame camera. So this is going to be your B camera. Well, if you do that, then you've actually doubled the amount of lenses that you own in a way because of the crop factor on the Super 35 or APS-C cameras. So if you have a 24-70, obviously it's a 24-70 lens on a full frame camera. Now, if you take that lens and put it on your B camera, which is my R7 for example, then you now have a 38-112mm lens. So you kind of, in a way, unlocking multiple lenses with the APS-C camera. Again, if you've got a 50mm f1.8, then you have a 50mm prime for your full frame camera, but then if you have an APS-C camera and you put that 50mm on the R7 for example, then you now have an 80mm f1.8. So you're basically getting two lenses in one. Now I've been actually thinking on my next camera eventually, the R5 Mark II, and eventually how it would actually replace my R7. But thinking of it now, I don't actually want to sell this to put towards the R5 Mark II because of how versatile APS-C cameras can actually be. So the creative lens choices you can actually get by owning an APS-C camera is actually great, and I really like that. I actually found that out the other day because I put on my 50mm on here and I thought, instead of using my 70-200 indoors at f2.8 when it was really dark, let's just put my 50mm on my R7 and now I have an 80mm prime lens. The second reason is because of the ergonomics and features of an APS-C camera. With APS-C cameras, they tend to be smaller because of the smaller sensor, lighter, and not only that, APS-C cameras, they're normally packed with amazing features. So when I was actually looking to buy my R7, I was looking at it and comparing it to my R6 Mark II, which is full frame. They can both do 4K 60, they both have C-Log 3, they both have image stabilization, and this actually has a higher megapixel than my R6 Mark II. This has a 30 megapixel, my R6 Mark II has a 24 megapixel sensor, but the R6 Mark II is double the price. So if you're looking for a camera and you know specifically you want 4K 50 frames per second in C-Log 3 or S-Log 3 for example, if you look at APS-C cameras like the R7 or like an FX30, then they pretty much have the exact same specs as the full frame cameras. So if you're on a budget and you really want the best specs, then maybe APS-C cameras are the best option for you. Another note as well, APS-C cameras tend to have better image stabilization than full frame cameras because they're smaller. It's easier to stabilize rather than a full frame camera. If you look at the GH5 for example, which is a micro four thirds sensor, that stabilization was one of the best in the business. If you do really want handheld stable footage, 4K 50 for example, then maybe buying an APS-C camera and saving a lot of money might be the best choice for you. Another reason why you might want to pick up an APS-C camera over a full frame camera is because the advantages of a full frame camera might not actually benefit you at all. For the work you do, you might not need shallower depth of field or good in low light situations. You might be a sports or wildlife photographer or videographer, and APS-C cameras in my opinion are better than full frames at that because of the reach you can get with the lenses. And also at the end of the day, if you're doing client work, no client out there, unless they're a video client who know what they're doing, no one is going to tell the difference between a full frame and an APS-C camera. No client looks at that image, looks at that shot and says, wow, that out of focus element in that shot looks amazing. They're looking at if it tells the right story and if they look good and it's what they want. They don't care about an out of focus background. They don't care about if this is like super smooth or super stable, if it was shot in 4K 50 or 4K 100. They just want to see the final image. Unless you want it and you want to really increase the value of your work and you have enough money and budget to increase like the production value and the look of your work because you want to make the best possible, then it will be worth it for you. But if you're hoping it because clients will notice it, then that's not going to happen. If you've liked all of the music in this video so far, then it's all from Audio. They have an amazing library of professional, amazing sounding songs, and if you use the link in the description below, then you can save 70% off your first year with code SAVE70. So again, if you want to save 70% off your first year at Audio Pro, then make sure you use the link in the description below. Another reason, like I said, is that you'll save tons of money. Like I said, the difference is pretty much half the price. If you buy native APS-C lenses, they are so much cheaper than full frame lenses. One of the lenses that I'm looking at the minute, and one lens that we use every single day, and it's our main lens for interviews at work, is the Sigma 18-35 f1.8. Now that is a dedicated APS-C lens, meaning if you put that lens on a full frame camera, you will get a vignette because it's not covering the whole sensor. That lens, an 18-35 f1.8, how much do you think that would be, a zoom lens that can do f1.8? Well, Sigma have actually brought out a full frame version of that lens now, and that's coming out about £1,200, which is still a pretty good deal for a full frame lens, to be fair. But the zoom range is not as big as the 18-35, and the 18-35 brand new is about £600. £600 for a lens that basically gets you 3 prime lenses is absolutely amazing. An R7 with a Sigma 18-35, for example, or an R6 Mark II with a 24-70, you're spending way more money on the full frame package than on the R7. So you save so much money if you do go the APS-C route, because if you buy a full frame camera with all your money and a full frame lens, but have a crappy little light and a not as good audio, rather than someone who's brought an APS-C lens and an APS-C camera with like a free lighting setup, negative fill, a great shotgun microphone, some lav mics, a V-mount battery, a gimbal maybe, then that is just gonna be worth so much more to you in the long run, because you have all of this extra kit, which actually makes the video better rather than just having a bigger sensor. Another great thing with them being cheaper is it's great to buy as a B or C camera. If you've got 2 full frame cameras and you really need to get a third camera that doesn't need to be full frame and doesn't need to be amazing, then picking up an APS-C camera for your C camera was going to be much better value than buying another full frame expensive camera. And for cinema cameras, you can get a C70 for pretty much the same price maybe as an R5 Mark II, and a C70 is just one of the best cameras I've ever used. I've not used that many cameras, to be fair, but it is so nice. It's so compact. You've got built-in ND filters, you've got access to C-Log 2, you've got XLR inputs, you've got waveforms, you've got that amazing sensor, the dual gain output as well, so you get really great dynamic range. You get all of that for a really great price. Now, the one thing, obviously, I do think the C80 is worth it, mainly because of the triple base ISO, but that's a whole completely other story. And yeah, if you are going into the cinema world, buying Super 35 cinema cameras might be a better value than full frame cameras for you. Crop censored cameras can be perfect for so many people out there, beginners, professionals, it doesn't matter. That doesn't mean it's a stepping stone for full frame. I mean, for Fujifilm, for example, don't even offer full frame cameras. They're just APS-C in medium format. So APS-C is such a great option for so many people out there. And even though I do think full frame cameras are better, these benefits alone just show why APS-C cameras are absolutely great to have. And if you want to find out a little bit more about that beast of a Sigma lens, then make sure you watch this video next to find out the best reasons why it is the perfect lens to get if you have an APS-C camera, because it is one of the most legendary lenses out there.